Good morning. It is day 8, which is June 19th. Um, so, a couple of thoughts this morning. So, day 8, it's like the first day of a new 7-day cycle. Our weeks are 7 days. And it kind of is an interesting pattern to observe the cycle of 7. I think there's 7 notes in a music scale: A, B, C, D, E, F, G, back over to A, B. So that's 7 notes, 7 days of the week. And then in human design, they talk about a 7-year deconditioning cycle where every 7 years you kind of have like a level up, moving up an octave. And I guess the idea is over 7 years, you do like deconditioning work, and that deconditioning process, you kind of take leaps every 7 years. And it's not that like you have to wait 7 years to notice a change or have a material change in your life or anything like that. It's just the, I think if you look back from where you are now to 7 years ago, your life is probably completely different. And you could probably like kind of bookend things like that. Um, I think that 7-year cycle kind of really talks about how much work there is to do. And it's that like those cycles also repeat. It's like every time you pass number 7, you go back to number 1 and not start all over again, but start from a new position where you have more to move. So I think it's kind of fitting to think about that on day 8, which is kind of like the start of a new cycle. It's interesting timing. It's like moving into the first day of the last weekend of my classes. It's like things are really going to be changing over the next couple days. And I think it's just even for what I'm doing here, it's kind of like coming into some type of clarity where I'm feeling like there's some interesting things to talk about, and I'm getting excited about that. And then also, not to mention hydration, which is important. So I was reflecting last night because I know that in the last video I was talking about choice and how we have choice and life is a series of decisions and all of that wonderful stuff. And then last night I was like afterwards I was thinking about that idea of like trusting in the flow of the universe, just kind of like letting things unfold as they will. And that's almost like letting go of the agency of choice, like just kind of surrendering to the greater flow of things. And that made me think of like, having all the choice and then surrendering to the flow of the universe is kind of like two opposite ideas. And it made me think of that idea of like all paradoxes can be reconciled, and how in some spiritual teaching talking about like how the reality is an illusion. It's an illusion of duality. So then you have the illusion of both sides. The question becomes, how do you hold both sides of the illusion? And I think that that's where hypnosis comes in. It's where you understand that context affects the meaning. Context is where meaning arises. If you think of the Tao, they talk about how when you label things, then it gives it form. So it's like the label is the context that gives the formless form. You're making boundaries. It's like, where do I physically end and everything else begins? Where does this chair that I'm sitting on begin? Where does this lamp begin? And they're separate objects, but we're all part of the same piece, right? Like if you're looking at the screen now, everything here is one. You don't say that you're watching like a person on screen with a chair and a light and curtains and a window and all of this stuff. You just say you're watching a video. So we're all the video as one thing, but then also um, within the video there are separate things, and that's kind of like that separation or that duality, um, the illusion of duality, where this video could be a video and then also has component parts, right? So it's kind of both of those things. And I think like hypnosis comes in there and helps with holding both sides of the illusion. As I'm developing this program, I'm thinking about how to best explain or share the idea of hypnosis. And the way that I learned it is hypnosis is a way of bypassing the critical faculty being that layer between your conscious and your unconscious mind. And when you bypass that critical faculty, it's like you're kind of like moving aside the firewall of your mind, and you're having direct communication with your unconscious mind that is there to protect you, to kind of like keep you aligned as much as possible with your goals, with what you want, what's good for you. The idea is the unconscious is always listening and protecting you and helping you make decisions based on the context of your past, help you make decisions that kind of keep you safe moving forward. And the context of the past piece is kind of where the different pieces of conditioning come in, where trauma comes in, because we've learned these responses. We've been conditioned to respond in certain ways based on past experience, because that's what kept us safe before. And sometimes like enough time passes where you don't need to run the same patterns, but because they're patterns and habits, and because they're things that we've done before, we're kind of like giving up the choice, which is what I was talking about yesterday, giving up the choice to something outside of the present moment to justify the actions that we're taking now. It's like, I'm going to do this because this is what's always been done. And the other side of that is I can make a different choice now if I really wanted to. I have that choice. And like holding both sides of that, where it's like saying, in one moment I could be blaming something else for the way that I'm acting now, or I can say like, I'm actively making that decision now. And if I take back that choice, take back that agency, then I become the author. I become the author of that story. And that's where authorship comes in. To write your own story, to write my own story in the moment, knowing that I have that privilege, So then hypnosis is that idea of removing the critical faculty. And I like the idea, thinking in terms of, like a little bit mysterious, a little bit dramatic, talking about that critical faculty as a dream gate, the gate between your dreams and your reality. If I were to think of hypnosis and describe it as the key to your dream gate, it's just unlocking and opening that and letting things through that are good for you, and having kind of communication between that conscious, your conscious and unconscious, those two separations. And there, when you open those gates, then you can begin to shift the context of your experience, and then change your experience so that you can have a new reality and a new experience of your existence. So when I think about what hypnosis is, if I think of it specifically as the key to unlock the dream gate, it's a way of opening up your experience past the things that you think are happening, the things that, the patterns, the conditioned patterns that you're running, and opening up yourself to something new. in a way that's real, to say that in this moment, I realize that I used to do one action, and in the future, I can do another one almost immediately. Like right now, I can choose to make that new decision. And being able to do that in the moment requires you to open yourself to accept that you want to be doing something different in the moment, and that you can do that, to accept that reality. So I think that there's different ways of doing that, of opening the dream gate, unlocking the dream gate. And first, I guess, is just to understand that it is there. It's something that you can do. So knowing that when you put a limit up for yourself, that is a gate that you've shut on a certain set of ideas. So then if you were to allow yourself that space to consider what it might be like to open up, to let things through, to do something different, then you may just be on the cusp of doing something different today. So let's do something different today.